Alanya is perhaps the most advertised and popular tourist city on the Mediterranean coast of Turkey. Alanya is also notable for the fact that it is considered the warmest city on the entire Turkish coast. There are even some statistics that Alanya has the warmest winters and the highest sea water temperature. The city is not small, with a population of 350,000 people, but it does not strain as much as the 1.5 million Antalya. Now objectively, what is so good about Alanya that not only tourists come here like flies, like bees to honey, but also those who want to buy real estate here and live on a permanent basis, which is why real estate prices in Alanya have simply flown into space over the past few years. Well, first of all, the climate. It's almost perfect. In short, there is a lot of sun and warmth. Secondly, a good location. We have all heard that earthquakes occur frequently in Turkey, since Turkey is located at the junction of lithospheric plates. So Alanya is considered one of the most earthquake-safe places in Turkey. Tremors can be felt here, but they do not lead to destruction, as it was recently in the east of the country. Well, the main criterion for which most people actually come here is a clean sea and fantastic beaches that stretch for many kilometers along the entire Alanian coast. Another trump card of Alanya is the surrounding mountains. They not only look amazing, but also decently delay the wind, creating a special comfort in the city. Since we are talking about trumps, let me start this issue with them. One of the most beautiful places that I have seen not only in Turkey, but in general in my life, is Cleopatra Beach. Nature has done her best here, but man, fortunately, has not. The sea is perfectly clean and with a turquoise hue, the sand is white and large, and therefore not very annoying. On the left side, the beach adjoins a beautiful mountain with a fortress on top, and if you turn your back to the sea, you get such a view that you want to stay here. Therefore, I understand those who buy apartments in Alanya for themselves. By the way, the beach has been awarded the blue flag, that is, in the international rating it is a beach of the highest category. Looking at all this beauty, I felt so much that I couldn't resist and opened the bathing season on the 6th of January. And you know, it wasn't cold at all. Here is such a January in Alanya. In winter in Turkey, well, not in all of course, but mainly on the coast, there are almost ideal conditions for practicing various sports, in particular road cycling. Therefore, many European teams come here for training camps. While walking along the embankment, I personally saw several pilotons passing along the highway. By the way, the embankment in Alanya is very cool. It is long and wide, with bike paths and a large number of sports grounds. There is even a bench for quarreling. But, no matter where I went, I never saw a horizontal bar or bars, without which, for example, a sports ground is simply impossible. For some reason, these simulators of physical activity are installed everywhere, and you won't find a good old turnstile with fire during the day. Probably because the Turks don't really like it when it's hard. Although no, I did see it in one place, and I got the impression that some adept of the old school created this celebration of metal with his own hands. Only posters with Arnie were not enough for full atmosphere. It is very interesting to call a taxi in Alanya. There is no application like Yandex or Uber here, but these buttons hang in different places all over the city. Pressed it and you're standing, so you're waiting for the carriage to be served to you. No, not like that, a little bigger. But that's cool too, right? I brought it home in the evening, put it in the hallway, and I don't need a parking space. The disadvantage of this method of calling a taxi is that you don't even know approximately where your shuttle is now and whether it is coming to you at all. You can wait for a car for a long time. I have a friend who stood at this button for 40 minutes and then, freaking out, went on public transport. In order not to freak out once again, we immediately took the bus. In Turkey, by the way, there is good public transport and they often go, well, at least in its coastal part. Turkey is a fruit and vegetable paradise. Even in January, the trees on the streets are strewn with lemons, tangerines and oranges, and the markets are full of fresh, and most importantly, very tasty vegetables and fruits. I really like that there are points all over the city where freshly squeezed juice is sold. They squeeze it right in front of you and it costs very inexpensive, from 6 to 10 lire, depending on the place. For this full glass of juice I gave 6 lire, at today's exchange rate it is about 25 rubles. There is also pomegranate juice, but it will be more expensive. In general, you definitely won't have to suffer from beriberi here. But have you seen such pumpkins? How do they grow them? By leaps and bounds or something? Let's go back to the interesting places of Alanya, where you can go there and what to see. Most importantly, the most spectacular and visible attraction of Alanya from everywhere is the mountain separating the western and eastern parts of the city. On the one hand, Cleopatra Beach adjoins it, and on the other, the port of Alanya. On the top of the mountain there is an ancient fortress and a long fortress wall. That's definitely worth going there, not only for the sake of the fortress, although it definitely deserves it, but also for the sake of a stunning panoramic view of the whole of Alanya, the mountains, and the endless sea. Almost at the very top we are met by the main keeper of the fortress, very dangerous, as it is written on the sign, Köpek. Köpek is Turkish for dog. If you successfully slipped through and he didn't notice you, then only beautiful views and the atmosphere of the old Turkish city are waiting ahead, along with souvenir shops, of course, where without them. We climbed the fortress in the evening, having the desire to spend the sun for the night in such an incredibly atmospheric place. And as it turned out, they did not lose. On the way back, we celebrated an unforgettable Sansa with orange juice. Here it was already 8 lire. Although, as for me, for such a mega tourist place, the price tag is super light. Cheaper only for free. We looked at the achievements of Turkish souvenir masters. By the way, there were some very interesting things. And they began to walk back down, watching how the evening Alanya was transformed into the night one. I strongly advise you to climb the fortress in the late afternoon, so you will kill a bunch of hares, see the panorama of Alanya while it is light, sunset twilight and already almost in complete darkness. Believe me, these are different experiences and it's worth experiencing their entire spectrum. Besides, if it's summer, it won't be so hot later in the evening. In general, a full profit. The port of Alanya is an interesting and lively place with a lot of boats, yachts, ships, retail outlets and eateries where very tasty mussels and traditional balls like meg are prepared. The smell of fresh fish is in the air, and fishing boats swinging at the pier complement the atmosphere of the seaside town. I recommend a walk from the embankment to the local lighthouse. It is beautiful, elegant and well suited for photo shoots. Kyzyl Kule or the Red Tower is another popular tourist location and the main symbol of Alanya. It is even depicted on the flag of the city. It is located next to the sports at the foot of the mountain and is part of the entire fortress defensive complex. The tower was built in the distant 13th century. If you want to look at it more carefully and feel it, you can go upstairs and turn a couple of circles on it. And this is a miracle, Solov Kitchen Restaurant. It is located on the embankment and, as you may have guessed, it is famous primarily not for its cuisine, but for its very original exterior. How many bears are hanging, sitting and lying here is impossible to count. Perhaps this will become a goal for someone. The place is very cool and raises the mood for one or two. By the way, there is also a hotel with a similar theme and design not far from the restaurant. Alanya made a pleasant impression. This is a beautiful, colorful and sunny city that you want to return to. But to rest here in the summer, in the presence of such and such beaches, I think it's a pleasure. Well, I hope that I will return to Turkey and shoot my big dream for you, Istanbul.